Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are here, and once again, it is our great pleasure to be in your reality. If you notice, you can still feel the vibration of the gong, yes?
Yes.
Very subtly. And we'd like you to assess for a moment your feet, your legs, your torso, all the way up to your crown. Just to feel what the song, the results of a vibrating gong can, let's say, do for your body. It's sort of aligning the cells, balancing the chakras, and keeping you a bit tuned up. So, that said, we welcome you all to an afternoon at the moon, a exploratory Sunday afternoon. And as serendipity would have it, the sun is out, the roads are clear, and the blistering weather of just a few days ago is already faded in memory, at least in the Carolinas. Further up the coast, let's say, there are more expressions of extremes, and people are being advised to hunker in and prepare for more inclement weather. Now, the topic of our discussion is the hidden design of reality. And this hidden design of reality is we are going to discuss with you the various aspects that are hidden from, let's say, obvious observers. And we are also going to point out the, let's say, changes that will transpire in your personal experience and collective reality over the next 15 years. This is February number 16, 2014. You are, from our point of view, 1 year into what we call the change over times. And these years, again approximately 15, are characterized by a massive series of slowdowns throughout all aspects of society. One could say that the inclement weather that most of the United States has been dealing with certainly put the brakes on many aspects of living. It was difficult to get around. People had, let's say, less funds, less money, less work. The economy slows down. Your speed of what you can do slows down. This is just the beginning. This does not imply that the remainder of the changeover years will have greater adverse weather to slow you down, but the weather is one way in which the speed of life is altered. And this alteration, this slowdown, is needed because the previous 25 years were basically pedal to the metal kind of energy, super accelerated. And those years from 1987 through 2012, we call that period of time the nanosecond. During those years, everything went faster and faster and faster, so as to tune up your nervous system and, let's say, awaken recessive or dormant knowledge that was stored along the DNA corridor. Now, things have been put into place, and the slowdown is necessary for all people to take a look at their emotions, their thoughts, their lives, and their beliefs. Because all of your beliefs are up for re-evaluation. Many years ago, we advised you that nothing is exactly as it appears to be. And that is more true today than ever before. We will go into the, let's say, Ponzi schemes and some of the subterfuges that are being played out right before your eyes in the media, through all manner of world leadership. There's hardly any news that is presented to you that has the full, let's say, blown kernels of truth. And yet the slowdown is going to allow people to see through the various obfuscations, the lies, the deceits, because during the slowdown, the energies are ripe for rebellion. And you will start to see the beginning of the rebellion in this country later on this year. And the rebellion here, let's say, is a direct response to being lied to, being manipulated. It's also a direct response to cosmic energies, planets that are dancing in the heavens, creating auspicious momentum for rebellion. Rebellion is a natural part of living. From history, you have stories, in the biblical terms, of the fallen angels that rebelled, yes? Mm-hmm. They were rebels. From the Anunnaki stories, you have the mutiny, the rebellion of the Igigi. They were considered to be lower level Anunnaki that were brought to Earth to do hard labor. They were brought here 400,000 years ago. Men of giant stature and renown who were put to work in the various mining facilities that were developed in South Africa and South America, and even here in North America, around the Great Lakes region. The history of your planet has been so covered over and hidden from the large majority of people that it will certainly be a shock as the truths start to come to the surface. As the truths come out from the ground, from whistleblowers, and from your own inner stories, your own DNA, this is what will feed the rebellion. The rebellion will basically be a collective action amongst the people of Earth to stop believing what they used to believe. And when your beliefs no longer work for you, it's not as if it's an outfit that you wear and you put a hat on, you say, oh, this hat doesn't look so good, I'll go and find another. Beliefs are the ideas, thought forms, cultural acceptances that you define yourself around. Beliefs can be as simple as an individual can say, I am a lucky person. Another person in the same family can say, well, I'm unlucky all the time. And you may think these are pronouncements of facts, but in actuality they are decisions, beliefs, agreements that shape reality, and then reality conforms to, let's say, the belief. That's why beliefs are tricky. It's important to be in touch with your emotions so that you can be honest with yourself and not be a phony person pretending to be one thing while something else is going on. This creates tremendous inner conflict. On the other hand, if you are honest about where you are, it might not be a great space, and what you have to learn to do is not to dwell there, but to simply recognize, this is where I am today, and what is it that is so important about me experiencing this right now. The hidden design of reality is imbued with, let's say, energy. Whether it is dark matter, the energy that your scientifics are still attempting to figure out, whether it is the energy of your thoughts, the energy that is played by the gong, all of this is energy, and energy defines your experience of existence. How you use that energy is actually what defines your experience. Now, our vehicle shared with you her beginnings with We the Peas, and how her belief system evolved to the place where she discovered that thoughts create reality. And when we began to speak through our vehicle, we agree. Thoughts are causative to your experience of reality. And it is important to understand in the hidden design that there are many factors that can shape your experience of reality. So, to understand that your thoughts create reality does not mean that if you muck up or mess up, or if you need a tow truck to pull you out of your emotional doldrums, that you have not failed. This is the double-edged sword of creating your own reality with thoughts. You understand that you have agreements that you have set up on a soul level to fulfill. You are in a world where all people are creating through thought. Then there are massive belief systems that say that you think are real when they are simply more beliefs, lucky or not lucky. So it comes down to reminding each of you that you are creators, and that there is a grand orchestration to the plan of existence, and that you are challenged to figure out how to manage your energies in this particular time that is one of the most unstable yet exhilarating times that humankind has yet to encounter. Perhaps that makes you feel a little bit better. Some of your plates are very full, and we are looking at your energy fields. We are seeing a little bit of overwhelming in some of your lives, and that is sort of the name of the game just now. So we'll start off by balancing your chakras, and then we'll go to questions. Without doing anything, just watching us, we want you to picture a rose, a red rose. And that's not so difficult, being that Valentine's Day was just a few days ago, and that is the traditional flower that is given, usually a red rose. And so we want you to picture this beautiful blossoming red rose in your root chakra. And anything that prevents that rose from blossoming, you are to extract, and we'll put it in, let's say, a bucket. We'll pretend that there's a big bucket in this room. And anything that keeps that rose from vibrating with beautiful, brilliant ruby red, put it in the bucket. The next chakra, you are going to picture an orange rose. And anything that stops that from being pure, pull it out, throw it in the bucket in the center of the room. Next, the solar plexus area, your power center, yellow rose. Again, picture, extract anything that is out of balance, that keeps the rose from being full on yellow. Now we are going to the center chakra, the fulcrum, green rose in the heart. So it is red, orange, yellow for the lower, green in the middle, and we want you to picture the biggest, greenest rose that you can imagine. Big, beautiful green rose. And anything that is in your heart chakra that prevents you from allowing that flower to blossom. Extract it and throw it in the bucket. Now we are moving upward. Blue rose for the throat chakra. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet for indigo, for the third eye, indigo flower, and then violet for the crown. And again, anything that obstructs the full blooming of those roses, picture yourself extracting it and throwing it into the bucket. Now, we are going to fire up the bucket as if it is a little rocket. And the bucket's going to take off. And it's going out, 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 out into the cosmos very quickly, past Pluto. And then everything that's in the bucket will be dumped, disseminated, transmuted, and transformed. So ideally, you will feel throughout the day what it is like to be in accordance, in harmony, and your chakras nicely cleaned and vibrating with good energies. We remind all of you, you can do this for yourself every day, whenever it is necessary. All right. The hidden design of reality. And as we've said, there are designs, so it can be plural. But let us explore the various nuances with you this afternoon, and we'll start by opening to questions. So please state your first name loud and clear, and let's have a very lively, brilliant discussion this afternoon. Who would like to begin, please?
This is David.
David, welcome.
One of the things that I've been seeing is there's like in places like Argentina, Turkey, lots of countries all over the world. I think I read the unemployment rate among youth in Greece is over 60%. This seems to be spreading all over, and our media is giving it very, very little attention. And then a secondary thing I noticed.
And if we may add,
yes.
So with high levels of unemployment, would sort of come the shoe of slowdown. Do you understand?
Right.
Continue.
And then they don't seem to be talking about that here. It seems to be very, very little in the media about it. Second thing is there appears to be...
media is mind control, you understand this.
Okay. There seems to be a bunch of banker suicides around bankers around the world who are involved in the gold trading.
Yes, it looks as like it was J.P. Morgan, yes?
Right, among many, but it seems to be spreading. So my comment is the fact that they're not mentioning the economic stuff really in this country, but it seems to be, the shoe seems to be falling all over the world. India, Argentina, Turkey, Brazil, obviously Western Europe. Are they setting us up for something as well?
In what way setting you up?
Are they hiding what's coming? It seems to me that with the interconnectivity of global finances, it's ultimately going to hit here as well.
Absolutely. Now, let's go into this question. The slowdown or the change over years are like putting the brakes on something that has been going at warp speed. And when something's been charging ahead with its own momentum, it takes a while to slow that mechanism down. And the reason your world will slow down is not simply because people are Ponziing you or they are attempting to crash the middle class or to wipe out world society. You are, as a people, headed in a new direction. A direction that will have completely different belief systems as its core foundation. So, yes, they are keeping it from the people in the United States because they know that there are forces in this country that are more than ripe for rebellion. They are, let's say, being re-stimulated energetically from many different timelines, and there have been, let's say, a buildup of armaments. You have many ex-military people who feel betrayed, many people that know many, many, many things. Now, the bankers are being taken out because, let's say, it is true that all of you have a voice inside. We've referred to it as your own Jiminy Cricket. Recall that? Jiminy Cricket, we talked about this many times. He would, advise Pinocchio, yes?
Yes.
And say to him, oh, it's not so good to lie and this and this and this kind of thing. All people have what you call a conscience, something in them that they can either push down and ignore, or something, the moral compass that keeps rising up. You can call it the soul spirit, the higher self. So within military, within government, within banking, many people have a Jiminy that have said to them, something's wrong or you are doing wrong. You need to take right action. As soon as they take right action, they start, let's say, talking. Everything is surveilled. There's not a thing that you can discuss on any sort of communication device that is not monitored and recorded. Know this. And as a matter of consideration, what you do know about surveillance is minute compared to the level at which you are being surveilled. Now, economic tumbling is inevitable, whether they hide it from you or not. You cannot keep acting as if you have money when you are broke. Your, what do you call it, your GPD, what does that stand for? Gross Domestic Product? In other words, all that you produce in 1 year is now less than the debt that you accrue each year. That does not really bode very well. So people in the U.S. are being entertained to death while they are being tracked in every aspect of their being. Any of you have new automobiles? Anyone here have a new automobile? Oh, good, you are smart. They all spy on you, you know. The new automobiles are going to record your conversations, where you go, what you do, absolutely everything. We have discussed before, who's so interested in so much monitoring and tracking? Not your governments necessarily. It's others, visitors, who've given you the technology and want to see if you are going to break out of their paradigm into something that you cannot even imagine at this point in time. Now, the question David raised, we can pinpoint it for you that in April of this year, 2014, you will have another astrological situation, Uranus square Pluto, along with Mars and Jupiter there, that this is going to be a very big deal. And it's not as if that day, April 20th, 21, is going to be the day, but you are approaching it. And then there will be a movement away from it, and you will be in orb all year. And basically, it is a dismantling configuration that will directly impact the USA. Very much so. What else do you want to know, David?
That's all.
So, who has a question?
Hi, Peace. This is Erin.
Erin, welcome.
In going back to the hidden designs in our previous discussion about multidimensionality and people becoming more aware or being introduced to it, whether by books or by experiential, is it possible for people that are beginning to experience that to, I don't know, see multidimensional lives of themselves and other people, as well as previous lives or being on other planets, things of that nature?
Absolutely. This is what the years of the nano prepared you for. the acceleration, again from 87 through 2012, and in 2012 it was, let's say the finale was your solar system, the sun's alignment with the galactic center. A great transmission of all manner of energy along the electromagnetic spectrum. And what this did was rearrange things in the human biological form. Every human form was affected by this energy, yet not every human is going to have the same experience. Some humans definitely during those years became more cognizant of living many times, of being able to tune into realities that they normally would not tune into, being able to look on other planets, or being able to receive information from the entirety of the time spectrum. Again, time is a dimension, and it is not what it appears to be. And let's say past, present, and future can actually run concurrent with one another. So the awakening now will continue in great numbers. And when you see the rebellion in this country really get going, understand that what you may see are people who are angry and they are fighting this and angry with this. And David brought that up. He wanted to know one time, when people start understanding the truth, will they go out and literally, let's say, rebel in the streets? Yes. And when you start to see this, understand that is a small symptom. That rebellion in the streets are those who do not know what to do with the energy. But for most people, they will not be in the streets. They will be feeling and opening psychically, intuitively, and being able to explore dimensions. Now, you are multidimensional beings. And these rulers, or these fake gods, as you want to call them, gods with a little g, have enticed you as humans to be deeply engaged with the material aspects of existence, the physical reality, the density. Hence, in the last many years, 20 years, the overexposure to stuff, commercialism. And then as people started to, let's say, want all this stuff, then what happened? Most of them got in debt. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then when you get in debt, it really cements you or anchors you to the density of 3D reality. And then materialism, and then you start to feel heavy in yourself, because how am I going to pay this off? And if everything is energy, so what? I still owe $100,000 or $300,000, and I'm what am I going to do? So this has been part of a plan and a test to see, how do you manage energy? There's nothing wrong with 3D reality and enjoying the creations of material expression. The problem is that if you think that's all there is, then it becomes a one-way street going nowhere. What else do you want to know, Aaron?
Well, kind of along those same lines, too, is it potentially possible for people to sort of remember when they were incarnate and then transitioning into a 3D experience? Or, I mean, I'm just trying to...
Trying, see if you can avoid the word trying when you speak.
I guess I'm wanting to understand experiences like that, and if more and more people, like you said, are going to experience that, are people going to be more willing to openly discuss it without worrying about people thinking they're crazy? Mm-hmm. Because I'm...
Absolutely. And many of you who do understand things, people will turn to you and ask you, what do you think is going on? And part of your job will be to assure them that they are not crazy. But you must learn not to act crazy yourselves. Because Crazy is a very fine line. It's a fine, fine, fine line between managing reality, 3D, and being able to tune into multi-D, and acknowledging many different types of scenarios, many different life forms, and being okay with who you are. This is why we encourage you to drop your anchor, your grounding cord, stay grounded into this reality, and to keep your aura nice and strong, and to keep your chakras clear. These 3 simple suggestions will keep you focused in the moment and during very crazy times. Now, more and more people are destined to, let's say, awaken and to leave behind the old paradigm. And so you are very correct in saying, will people turn to this? They will have no place else to look, because many of the old beliefs that people hung their coats on and their reality on are going to prove to be false or undependable or unreliable. This can create great mental confusion for people. These are not easy times in terms of finding stability. Yet on a soul level, the people of Earth have collectively agreed to participate in an extraordinarily difficult and highly dramatic changing from one paradigm to another. When we look at your world, we look at the energetics. When you look at your world, you think, how much time do I have before I have to go to work or go to sleep, or what's the latest news today? You are essentially grounded in here. Yet you'll find over the next few years, the more you drop your anchor cord and stay grounded, the easier it will be to rise up like you are taking an elevator, say up to one of your upper chakras, 8, 9 or something, and to look at Earth and to understand the larger picture of what is going on. Who else has a comment, a question, something they want to know?
I do. My name's Jess.
Jess?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was wondering what messages you might have for adolescents, teenagers who are we're experiencing this huge change and moving into the phase of growing up, you could say, with college and jobs and settling into the old way that everyone else has been living, which clearly isn't, the functional way to do things anymore. What messages would you have, as I'm an adolescent myself, to give to other teenagers who are on the path of seeing this ultimate reality and struggling to, determine where to go next in life? As, I don't know how to formulate what I'm trying to ask.
You have just expressed it very, very well. Very, very well.
Thank you.
Yes, all right, because it's heartfelt.
Yes.
And we understand your confusion. In some ways, Jess, it is a little easier to wake up in your late 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Yes.
To wake up as a teenager, teenage years, the hormones have already moved in. You are already moving towards an adult body. Just to clarify, we see that all people are fully ensconced in an adult body around 28 or 29 years old. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen completely till that age. Now, think of it this way. Your soul has set things up with you, your consciousness, to unfold exactly as they are unfolding. 50 years ago, it would have been very, very, very difficult for a teenager to know all these things and then to go into the world. Because no one knew anything back then. You follow? It was only for those who were deeply involved in metaphysics. Today, many people raise their children over the last 25 or 30 years with these principles, with these ideas. And so you are the betweeners. And one thing we can say to you is to keep your feet on the ground. Do not leave a big record digitally or electronically of your identity. We would say that to all young people. You are foolish beyond measure to put your personal lives all over the internet. This will be one of the largest regrets people have. And even mothers who have little babies now that are putting all the baby data, all this, those mothers will be, let's say, regretting for decades the exposure that they mindlessly gave their children. Now, thoughts create reality. And you are, as young people, you are not expected to know what you are going to do for the rest of your life. And even if you think you do, more than likely that's going to change. One of the most important messages we can give you and all people is this: have a good time. Set your life up in such a way so that it is rich with meaningful experiences. Now, when you go to school, we know you go to college, and then what happens? They give you antiquated data, and they charge you an absolute lifetime to receive information that is hardly true. This is going to set things into motion in the future, where in the next 5 years, many people will not be able to afford to go to college, nor will they want to. One of the problems with the educational system is that if and when, let's say if, the powers that be decide to, let's say, open up the Pandora's box and say, all right, here's the truth. We have been visited by ETs, they're here all the time. Darwin's nonsense was really a cover-up. At one time there were dragonflies that had 6-foot wingspans, this kind of thing. Well, it would probably stimulate everyone, and they would be more interested in the story of Earth. But many people have lost interest because they intuitively know that what they are being taught is not true. You have to decide, Jess, if you want to invest in your future in a sort of fake way. The young people are going to be the leaders one day. And many of the young people already have heightened skills and yet do not have the maturity to understand their heightened skills. Someone brought this up at one of the classes about you call them crystal children and rainbow children and all of this. And we discussed that there's a type that has come onto the planet that have some abilities to be part human and part machine. We would advise you to stay away from that, if at all possible. You want to be as rich and ripe as you can in terms of a human being. If you have a physical malfunction and there is a machine put in to help your heart or to augment limbs or something of this nature, it's a little bit different subject. But many people today find the field of biohacking to be irresistible. Biohacking refers to not simply tattooing your body from one end to the other, but it involves inserting various augmentations into a physical body to make you more like the comic book characters, a little bit more superhuman, or a little bit more like the new species that the Anunnaki want to cultivate. So, enjoy your humanity, enjoy your femininity. If you are a man, enjoy your masculinity, and be as grounded and present in the now as you can, while directing the energy to playfully teach you about your own inner powers. Because there will be a number of forces riding on the planet. There will be the group of people, they're starting with soldiers now, and special forces, and sometimes prisoners and mental institutions where the experiments take place. But they're applied in the military. And then once they are tested in the military, they will be sold to all manner of people to entice the people away from being human. There will be a huge difference between accessing or cultivating natural abilities, which we refer to as the inner net, versus those who would be augmented through biohacking and bioengineering. What else, Jess?
I had a very important question, but you guys, that was an overload of good information.
We'll come back.
Come back to me?
Yes, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to. One thing, we'll tell you this. 25 years ago, when a young person would ask this question, and we had some young ones, very young ones, said, will there be a world for us? What shall we do? What shall we do? We said, listen, you are being given a lot of disinformation. Know that what you are being taught is not the entire truth, yet if it shows up on a test, fill in the blanks as if it is true. Just don't become a true believer. Today that's all out the window, because all you have to do is go on the internet, and within 1 hour you can become completely confused about what is the truth and what's not. You understand? So your job now is much more challenging than it would have been, say, in 1988. The stakes are higher. On the other hand, you are fully equipped, as all people are, to play this game of physical reality, because you are not alone. You are working with higher self and layers of soul connection. Let's move around a little bit and see who else has a comment or a question about the hidden design of reality and where things are going.
Peace. This is Brian.
Brian, welcome.
I'm very interested in how to use my mind to stay more healthy, especially when there's so many chemicals being introduced to us that we have no choice about breathing or drinking. And I've recently read where the Anunnaki like a radioactive planet, and Fukushima seems to be accomplishing that. So my question to you is, how do we best learn to purify our body and stay healthy?
All right, it's an excellent question. How do you best purify your body and stay healthy in a time where radioactivity is growing and growing, and it is only one of your great challenges? And it is true that the Anunnaki, it's not that they necessarily like radioactivity, it is that they have learned to adapt to it. And being that they are much older species, I remember a shape-shifting older species, they have within their DNA the ability to adjust. Now, all the humans on the planet at this current time would basically, let's say large majority of them, have DNA tracking and footprints back to the Anunnaki. They were your creator gods, meaning you have some Anunnaki in you. And you know, we've had classes here where people have tentatively raised their hands and said, am I part Anunnaki? And yes, you all have that in you. Now, let's cover some important aspects of the hidden design of reality. You're multidimensional, and it is your thought processes, your choices, your decisions, your beliefs that move you from one reality to another. Yet, all of you would bet that you are in the same reality from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep, because it appears that you are in the same reality. Yet reality has layers like an onion, very fine, thin layers, and you literally move into various realities throughout the day that suit your mood, your feelings, and your beliefs. If you are feeling blue, and you really have a reason to feel blue, then you are going to stay in that reality that supports feeling blue. Do you understand? Unless you say, all right, I'm tired of being blue, I want to be in a reality that's all gold in the sunshine. And then pretty much, if you give it a little time, you'll find yourself moving into that reality. So a core understanding of the design of reality is that there are many realities that you move in and out of throughout the day. The Anunnaki and your basic governments do not want you to think that you have such freedoms. They do not want you to understand the power of consciousness. And so the media, the entertainment, the doom, the gloom, the watch out for, all of this is very real on a physical level. Some of you know, you recently had the big storm here. If you went out in that storm, you knew that yes, your intentions could set things into motion to get you from here to there, but you would have to deal with other drivers and snow and ice, etc. So there are many, many causative factors that affect your thoughts. So, bottom line is that you have within you what the Anunnaki have to a lesser degree, and that is the ability to adapt to radiation. That does not mean that we say, well, everyone go out swimming in the West Coast and dive into all this radiated water. You can see from the news, or what you hear, is that many life forms are not able to adapt, and they are vacating their life along the West Coast because there is an innate quality in all life forms where they will move to another reality or die if their quality of life is threatened. Now, your thoughts, your intentions, and your ability to tap into this energy inside of your body can put you in a more strengthened state to adapt to radiation. Now, your scientifics will say, what are you talking about? You cannot adapt to radiation. It's going to kill you. Yes, it does kill many, but some it does not. Some forms adapt. And this may seem like a fine line between fact and belief. And when you are looking at your world and reading your newspapers and listening to the warning, it's pretty factual and it's pretty dense and it's pretty 3D. Yet, right there, right in front of you, a blink away, is another reality that says, all right, I'm going to dare to believe that my body will be adaptable, and that I can raise my energy and vibrate at a higher level. And what do we mean when we say raising your energy and vibrating at a higher level? Who can feel something in there? Anyone know what we are implying?
Strengthening our aura.
Strengthening your aura, yes, strengthening, but it is rising above fear. It is fear that lowers your vibration, and it is fear that the global elites, the Illuminatis, the Anunnakis want to keep you in, because then you are more manageable. And if they can distract you enough to keep you fearful of, is this coming, will I make it, will I have enough money, will the fireplace work, whatever your concerns are about health and warmth and survival, which is all a root chakra, the red rose issue, if they can keep you locked there, then they win control over Earth. the larger understanding of reality is that you've outgrown the paradigm. And the Anunnaki know this, and they are terrified that they will lose control of this empire. And the larger understanding of this story is that if you rebel, if you respond to the ripeness of this rebellion that wants to take you to a higher level beyond fear, then this sends out a signal, as all energy basically vibrates with energy. And you are not the only colony of the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki, they understand the evolutionary process. They understand that life forms can be stationary for millions of years, and then they can be accelerated. And the Anunnaki themselves have certainly accelerated many life forms into what you call quick evolution. But they are also becoming aware that if one part of empire mutinies, rebels, and wakes up, you are like radio stations. You are also like the galactic center. You send out signals, and because you have Anunnaki blood in you, other parts of their empire do as well. And this is one of their greatest concerns, is that if you start to pop up, rebellions are going to happen in many other places with other life forms that they have colonized and controlled. Please continue, Brian, with another question.
Well, it's not related to that. It's
So do you understand that adapting is raising the vibration and moving outside of fear?
yes, it's sometimes difficult to shake the fear. We're surrounded by it.
Of course it is. No one said that this process is going to be easy. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. Do you understand? So it is a difficult process, and you are all faced with it all the time. We have said your power ends where your fear begins, but your body feels this fear, and it puts its armor up, and it says, oh, there's only so much I can do. And the fine line between managing your fear and then not being in denial and doing something ridiculous, that it is foolishness. So what we are wanting to convey to you is this changeover period is very tricky. Please continue.
Well, sometimes it seems that when I'm having success and other people I know are having success and raising our consciousness, that more bad things happen to us and our families to bring us back down. It's almost like we're being whacked down when we stick up with consciousness.
Well, that is the truth, that along the path of consciousness, as you start to vibrate at a higher level, you can attract certain energies that want to stymie what you are doing. This is why the solid aura, the grounding cord is all very important. And then on another way of looking at it, as you start to vibrate, then you start to attract to yourself more challenging situations, because as you vibrate at a higher level, you have the innate potential to transmute more and more difficulties and to make them turn out better. Do you follow?
Yes.
So it's a double-edged sword. We agree with you. When you look at the challenges that dealing with such things present to you, you can see why we've said many times the old adage, ignorance is bliss, is escapism. Do you follow?
It's so hard to understand why so many people prefer ignorance. When a lot of us try to educate people and they just absolutely will not consider the things we talk about.
Some of it is fear, and some of it is timing. And their doorways of the DNA have not been flung open, and for some, their soul's mission is not to yet think along those lines. Yet they are here as people to be present and to watch others do so. That, in the end, can be inspiring. It is like watching a supreme athlete or great singer or any type of performance that excels beyond the ordinary. And people may be in awe of the person who does it, and yet there are always people who are inspired by it, who said, I never thought of that. So there are many here on the planet, many, who are newbies in some regard to breaking out of their own armor of limitation. And many of them have locked down DNA. The Anunnaki have succeeded in keeping them in complete limitation, and the people have beliefs. I could never, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the right color skin, I don't have the right gender, how could I possibly do any of this? And that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Again, a hidden design of reality based on your beliefs and how you condition the space. What else, Brian?
Wow, thank you. That answered a lot for me.
Good. Now, we talk about conditioning the space, and you are conditioned all the time. And that's part of why people can't see beyond the horizon. And that conditioning can come from genetic programming. And you're born into a family, and the family says, don't you get any fancy ideas, who do you think you are? Another family says, I'm going to work so hard for you children. I'm going to work 5 jobs so that you can all have an education, so you can make something of yourselves. Because my family never did it, and I want you to have something different. So it is individual choice whether to let's say, check out from your difficulties or to rise to them and overcome them. That is the story of the human race. Who has a question?
I do. That's Consolata. How are you?
We are well. What is your name again?
Consolata.
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 Yes, all right.
And along the lines of what Aaron and, I'm sorry, I don't remember, Brian were saying, how can you help somebody along who thinks you're crazy when you tell them these things? And is there something you can say to them, or I don't know, what do you do so that they know that, well, maybe there's a possibility you're not so crazy?
Listen, it is hardly a person in the metaphysical field that does not wish to be having greater acknowledgement and understand that the people who call you crazy are often loaded with fear. So what we want to do, Consolata, is to help you understand where they are coming from. You would like them to understand you, but that's probably not going to happen. If you can understand that their soul is locked up, and this is the majority of the people, they are not a minority, and when you start talking about things that, let's say, do not fit in other people's belief systems, it is the easiest thing for them to say, you are crazy. But the bottom line is a legitimately crazy person is going to show high levels of dysfunctionality in general. They are going to have areas where they fall through the cracks. So your challenge is to operate with impeccable dignity, to make certain that you present a united front in terms of being a functional, sane, balanced person who just happens to see reality with eyes wide open from a much bigger perspective. So release the idea of getting others to see what you understand. Go along your path, find a few friends, a few dozen if you can, of people who do understand these ideas, discuss them with them, and be patient. Others will awaken. If they start calling you names or giving you a hard time or diminishing your energy field, then you need to put distance between yourself and that person. Now, that's easy to say, but when you are married to someone, or you have to share a household or a bed or something like this, it can be very challenging. And know this, for any of you who are in this position. If you are spiritually vibrating at a bigger level, and you are sleeping in the same bed with someone who is adamantly against what you are experiencing, there can be great illness that comes out of this. First, the illness will be emotional, spiritual, and then it can land physically. To be around for any length of time incompatible energy that conflicts with your beliefs is very unwholesome. And a solution may be separate beds, or it may be separate bedrooms, not necessarily divorce. You don't have to divorce someone because they don't think the way you do. But you must understand that energetically you're all projecting your thoughts all the time. And you are all thinking things about other people that literally go out. So be aware on that level. If you cannot manage to change the situation, then set up the bedroom situation in such a way so that it is copacetic to all. You might want to put a crystal in there, or put a few nice plants, or have a vase of flowers all the time. Something to balance the energy between two people to keep things more copacetic. Anything else that you would like to know?
That answers it, thank you.
That's good. Sometimes you don't have to give us all the details. We read the energies and can answer your questions, and that's the fun part of it. Who has something they want to share? Someone's got a story here. We can feel it.
This is Sue.
Sue, welcome.
Thank you. Well, I have a couple. I guess, how about the Sandy Hook?
Yes, the Sandy Hook story. So what did you come across? The researcher who's saying now that nothing is exactly as it appears to be?
Yes.
Yes, a man named Wolfgang Halbig, we believe, with quite a solid reputation as it appears in terms of law enforcement, an educator, solid. He's been asking questions. And he's been warned off.
Oh, he has been warned?
Yes, he's been warned off from the Connecticut police, and he's basically asking very basic questions, and he's not coming to conclusions, but the implication is that it's very fishy up there at Sandy Hook, and that he's implying that perhaps what they said came down did not come down at all. What do you know, Sue?
Yes. What I know is that they are wanting to put the American public into fear.
And remember, Sandy Hook happened 1 week prior to the solar alignment with the galactic center. Mm-hmm. And there were 26 people, which was a key number on the old Mayan calendar. Mayans loved 2652. And it was a sacrifice of children, or an enactment of sacrifice of 26 people. Very Mayan, very, very, very Anunnaki to create sacrifice, blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yes, and the questions this man is asking is that the bodies were never shown.
Yes, that parents were never allowed to receive the bodies.
Right. And so it even makes me wonder, did they switch the children? Did they still have a sacrifice? Or did they take these children who came from, they all had high IQs. Mm-hmm. And so did they do a switch? Did they just set it up to make this big story, to put people into fear, so that these companies can make money off the security of other schools?
Well, every school now has completely changed since that time. And now all the schools have what you call
security guard? Or
security guard, but they have drills. Some of you who are a little older, you grew up with
The nuclear drills.
Nuclear drills, yes. And you had to dive under your desks. You remember that? And huddle under the desk. Now today they have what's called intruder drills. That's what they are called, intruder drills. And a mother just wrote an article recently, as we're accessing the files of our vehicle here. And she said that from the time these children are now 5 years old, that this is considered normal to them, and they are acting these drills out in school where police come and someone acts as if they are shot and they have blood, and everyone is traumatized continuously. So what's the out picturing of this? Now, trauma creates amnesia, whether it is a real trauma or a fake trauma. It creates amnesia. When you have air raid drills, that's what they used to be called, nothing really happened. It was all sort of in your mind. The siren would go off, etc. But when you have an intruder drill and someone's acting as a shooter and someone's acting as a police officer and everyone's acting these roles out, you are taking sort of really bringing it into form. A young child does not know the difference between real and not real. So this is a form of mind control and conditioning the young people in North America to dissociate. And we've said many times, trauma creates dissociation and amnesia, yet in some people it creates psychic awakening. They open the eyes in the back of the head because you have to suddenly become super vigilant. So let's say this is a way to quietly and quickly traumatize children and to sort the wheat from the chaff. Because one thing all the children have in common today in all the schools, testing and testing and testing and testing and testing. So they are going to test to see who are the psychic children. They are going to pull them out one by one. Now, what happened to the original children from Sandy Hook? Understand that if the children were all part of a mind control experiment, so too were the parents.
Yes.
And the parents were moved into position. No offense to Connecticut, but Connecticut's known to have a wealthy clientele. Do you understand? A clientele that would have positions in higher echelon of corporations, etc., kind of thing. And again, just like bankers, as Dave was talking about, higher echelon in society, but the Jiminy Cricket wakes up and suddenly they're suicided from all manner of crazy kinds of situations, off of buildings, bridges, no matter. We would say that you are looking at a massive MK Ultra experiment, and we will say to you, some someones were sacrificed. It may not be those children and those teachers, but someone was involved in a blood sacrifice. And if you take it back to the oldest roots of what they did in Mexico for sacrifices, it was what?
Tore their hearts out.
The heart chakra, yes, the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is the center for where the new paradigm will shape itself. It is the center of the power of the person who will use the inner resources. It is the new brain in the body. So to symbolically destroy a heart chakra of people sends out a symbolic signal. And remember, symbols are the language of the dimensions. English may be the language of your culture, your now, but symbolic acts move between the dimensions. And right now you have symbolic acts occurring again at the Olympics, the Sochi Olympics. We will speak about that a little later. What more do you have, Sue, on Sandy Hook?
That's it. I was reading, the vehicle had sent me an article to read, and I was reading what this man, the questions he was asking, and they're very valid questions. And I was wondering more of what had happened, and you answered.
And he was basically saying that all of law enforcement was involved in this, and that it was something that took years of planning. But more than that, he said that a young man, Adam Lanza, all the pictures you saw of him, not to be disrespectful at all, but he probably weighed 75 pounds wet. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
He was very slight. Correct?
Yes, he was.
How could he handle all of the ammunition and all of the armaments that were drawn in?
There was the reporter, the man who's investigating this, was asking some military person who knows what all these weigh, and he says there's no way that person could have carried all those in there.
Not only that, the type of killing that quickly would be almost impossible for someone of such a slight nature, and you have to be pretty good marksman to pull it off. So there's so many holes in the story. Anyone else want to comment on Sandy Hook?
Well, Bees, this is Danny Overcash, not Sandy.
Yes, Danny.
Not Sandy Hook, but years ago there was the Port Arthur massacre 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah, that was in Australia, yes?
Australia, yeah. And they used this excuse to take up the guns, but it was the same kind of thing. There was a man, not to be disrespectful, but he was left-handed and he had a mild case of Down syndrome retardation. His IQ was barely, it was like 110 or whatever it is, just borderline being competent, incompetent. The guy they pinned it on, but he went in there, they somehow lowered the policeman off this little island, Port Arthur, where they're the only person that had a gun anyway. And this guy in a hood, slight guy in a hood with a rifle, shot 26 times and was 25 for 26, did headshots on, killed 25 people. He was also very calm and professional about it because the rifle only carried so many shots. I don't remember the particulars. But if it was, say, 8 or whatever, he would shoot 7 times, leave 1 bullet in case someone charged and did it. Most people can kill. Most soldiers, when they put it out, they find when they put them even in war, even after they've been through basic training, will shoot in the air the first time. Because they're so conditioned, humans are so conditioned not to kill people.
Yes, exactly.
But this whole thing was put on this guy, and it was this whole big campaign, but the whole thing was kind of ludicrous. I mean, there was SWAT officers and professional military, you know, the best of the best had been through the training that privately, you know, kind of admired the guy. It was remarkable shooting the way he did. I mean, 25 headshots, maybe picked people when they weren't moving and did it, so, you know.
That's only a trained sniper that can do
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of
only
thing.
a high, he was world class, so, you know, and this guy and he shot right-handed, and this left-handed man with Down syndrome had never had a gun in his life, so he terrified everybody in Australia that just anybody can pick up a gun and become Olympic class or world class sniper. And, I mean, but yeah, it was a similar situation where it's ludicrous.
Now listen, what came out of Sandy Hook was, remember right away, Mr. Obama and others wanted to put all kinds of lockdowns on guns, etc. And then you had Gabrielle Giffords a couple years before, and the anti-gun movement. Thank you. This is all predicated on some idea of removing the armaments from the hands of people. Yet it's a double-edged sword. There's a lot of money that's made on armaments, and a lot of Illuminatis are the ones that own these armament companies. And on a larger scale, we've said this before, the Anunnaki are not terrified of your guns or your weapons. That's the government. The Anunnaki are terrified of your mind, of your chakras, of your heart opening to such a degree that it becomes the center of intelligence. It becomes the place through which all decisions are made. This is not really understood at this time because as beings you are not operating in that capacity. The heart has not really been opened. Oh, you have each of you little heart chakra openings here and there, but no one really, as we scan the planet, vibrating with this kind of opening. And it is not time. When the time is right, like all creations, you will have 100th monkey on the heart chakra. In other words, when the time is right, a few learn how, then others pick it up because it's in the air, and then others pick it up, and then suddenly it becomes a full-blown happening. We do not see this occurring until at least 5 more years. And in the next 5 years, what you will be sorting through is acknowledging the hidden design of reality, that you have power, that you are energy, that you are multidimensional. And many of you know this, and your abilities will rise and rise. And yet for the planet, there must be a crash of what you believe and what you believe in, whether you believe in politicians or whether you believe in churches or whether you believe in whatever, playing games. It doesn't make any difference. There's a need to turn the ship of state, and so many things will transpire to turn it. We would say all of you have already turned your minds to something of greater value. Yet, as Brian said, part of the challenge is to meet these obstacles and to learn how to overcome them. And sometimes there are forces that want to stymie your progress. And we'll talk about this more in the next part, the influence of non-physical reality on physical reality. And as your senses grow more attuned, you start to see and know the non-physical components. And in this, you'd best be very careful about who you blab to. Because when you start seeing things that other people cannot see, you'd better be impeccable in your groundingness and your sanity. Everyone with us on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. All right. So now before recess, let's refortify those chakras. Red rose, orange rose, yellow rose. Feel those lower chakras. The grounding of this, the red is who am I? How can I survive? The orange is my sexuality and creativity. Bring it forward in beauty. Your third rose, the yellow, is power, to have courage, the willpower to reach out and to create. The heart chakra, wisdom, empathy, balance, love. Blue, indigo, violet, the upper part of the body that will connect you to the cosmos in an uplifting, soul-stirring way, so that you move beyond the influence of colonizers, visitors, and manipulators, and that you embrace the power of all that is. All right. Understand that visualization, imagination, the power of doing something that looks as if you are doing nothing, that's one of your greatest gifts. All right, have a good time on recess, and we'll come back in a bit for part